everybody. Welcome to this week's live session. Really great to have you here. Today we're going to be talking about something that's a really important question, a question that's often not asked, but it is really significant and it should be the question we're starting to think about. So I want to talk to you about a really important shift that we need to create that we need to make, I should say, to create real and lasting sustainable change when it comes to community wellbeing. So when I say making a shift and creating community wellbeing, I mean something that is actually sustainable, that truly creates a new way that we consider community wellbeing in our local areas. So look, if you're tuning in live with me today, please say hi. And if you're joining me on the replay, then say hi as well, because I'd love to know that you've come in here and joined us. Now, I know that many of you are here because you see the gaps. You feel the frustrations that come with not seeing the things working, solutions that are working, and you see the gaps that exist. And whether that's in mental health support, whether it's in disconnection that's occurring, or systems that aren't working, maybe you've even tried to come up with your own solution, but you're hitting roadblocks. Now, if that sounds familiar to you, please drop a yes in the chat, because I think it's a common place that many of us come from. But what I want to talk to you about today is really about a significant mindset shift that can take us from feeling frustrated to moving into a place of action and creating solutions that actually work. Now, a lot of people look at their communities and look at the frustrations they're feeling and get stuck in the pattern of thinking someone should fix this. Why isn't something happening? Why aren't solutions being created? But the thing is that change doesn't happen through generic outside solutions. It happens when we actually lean into the strengths that already exist in our local communities. And when we take those strengths, we create locally driven, community driven solutions. All right. So I want to talk about 3 significant shifts today that can really move us from feeling that sense of frustration to moving into a place of action. So, first of all, as I've kind of alluded to already, we need to move from looking to the outside, looking to government solutions, looking to outside associations who can fix this, to instead moving ourselves to thinking about that we can fix this by working together. You know, how many times have you heard or have you thought about, why isn't someone doing something about this? Why aren't people coming in and fixing this? It's clearly not working. It's really frustrating, and it's a pattern we can tend to get into, which I talked about in a live a couple of weeks ago. But the thing is, and I can say this through experience with the communities I've worked with, there isn't someone else or some group out there that's going to fix this, because the thing is, generic solutions don't consider the unique nuances and circumstances and capabilities of your local community. It is really up to us within our communities to make change happen. And I want to help you understand that it's very possible, and it's very straightforward when you have a proven process to be able to do that. Now, the thing is that real, impactful and sustainable change doesn't start with waiting. It starts when people like you and people like me step up and take action, even in very small ways, to actually create solutions together. And the thing is, you don't have to do it alone. It doesn't have to be scary. There are always others out there who care just as much as you do about it. And sometimes it's about finding those people, and sometimes it's about empowering those people. Look, if this resonates with you, really think about, have you ever been stuck in that pattern of venting and not getting anywhere, but you know that you see those issues? Just pop a yes into the chat if you think that that's you, because I know for a lot of us that honestly is where we come from. All right, so the next significant shift that we need to move from and move towards is waiting for resources to come to us and instead leveraging what we already have, the strengths that we already have in our community. Now, a lot of people that I work with believe that they need funding, that they need more services, that they need government support before they can do anything else. Now, what I want to tell you is that while funding, of course, is important, it's not the first step. In fact, some of the most powerful community initiatives started without any money at all. And I certainly know in my own community, many years ago when I first started this process locally before I took it to other communities, I started the conversation with others. I discovered other people who were passionate. And suddenly the community started to notice, and without even being asked, donated $25,000 because they wanted to see us take this and turn it into something that could actually improve mental health and wellbeing outcomes for the community. Now the thing is, what it starts from is people coming together and using what they already have. Think about it. We already have schools, sporting clubs, workplaces, local businesses, and people with skills and passion. Now, what if we worked with what we have instead of always waiting for what we don't? So I just want you to consider for a moment, what's one strength that you know is in your community already? What's one strength that perhaps isn't being utilised but could be? Because I think when we actually start to think about it, there's a lot more strengths than we realise. All right, now the last and probably the most significant shift that we need to make is moving away from the idea of working in silos and instead moving towards working together across our sectors and working together across our communities. Now, one of the biggest reasons that we struggle to make progress is because we still do so much of the work for mental health and wellbeing in isolation. Now, we all know that mental health impacts all of the areas of our life, and all of the areas of our life impact our mental health. Yet so much of the work that we do in this space actually exists in isolation. When you think about it, schools, health, police, local businesses, sporting clubs, community groups, that all have a role to play when it comes to mental health. Whether that's in prevention, whether that's in awareness, belonging, support, intervention, crisis. Everybody in society these days has a role to play when it comes to mental health and wellbeing. Yet we still work so separately when we're trying to do it. And so many of those associations that I've mentioned are trying to do it all and are burning out in the process. But imagine if instead we we connected the dots and actually worked together. What if schools, workplaces, police, community groups, all those places I've mentioned, all played a role in wellbeing and worked together to create shared solutions about shared problems, and the solutions were locally led and community driven instead of just band-aid solutions. So there's a lot. There's a lot in that, all the things I've mentioned. So let's just recap for a moment. So if we want to create real change, sustainable change, and true change in our communities around mental health and wellbeing, we need to shift our thinking from waiting for someone to fix this to considering that we can actually fix this by working together. We need to stop waiting for resources and start using what we already have within our local community. And we need to move away from isolated, siloed approaches and move towards collaborative, cross-sector, community-driven approaches. Now, I know this can feel very overwhelming, and you might be thinking, yes, Renee, I get it. I completely agree. But how do I actually do all of this? How do I make that happen in my own community? And look, I want you to know that that's exactly why I created this group. And that's exactly why I've created my community wellbeing newsletter, and I'm currently creating many free masterclasses to help get this word out to people, because I've done this. I've created this process. I've seen incredible success, and I've helped communities to create this. And I want to help passionate people like you who care about your community and care about well-being and mental health actually create real change. I want to share with you the proven process that I've developed. I want to share with you ideas and resources that are working and help you problem solve and move the needle in this space, because I think that there is so much that can be achieved in this. So if today's session really spoke to you and you want to know more about this and dive in deeper and figure out how you can be a part of making a difference, I am currently creating a free masterclass where I'm going to dive more deeply into the reality of what's actually happening in local communities, the vision of where it is that we want to go to instead, and really building on what I've talked about today, and really figuring out how you can be a part of making a difference, whether it's in a small manner or a big manner. So if that sounds appealing to you, please pop the word masterclass into the comments and I'll pop you on the wait list so that you'll know as soon as that free session is being launched and you can get a part of that. As always, I will keep sharing free practical strategies and behind the scenes insights in this group. So please, if you haven't already, turn on your notifications so you don't miss my live session. And if this conversation has resonated with you, please share your biggest takeaway in the comments, because I'd love to hear what's resonated for you, and what you're feeling in your own situation and in your local community. Look, thank you for joining me today as always. I will see you next week at the same time for another live session. But until then, let's keep the conversation going. And as always, let's stop watching the mental health statistics and start changing it. See you then.